recording in just a second. There we go. We are done.
We're going to call the meeting to order at 6:02.
Yeah, Colleen just popped on.
And there's publishing. Okay. Okay. So, first order of business is any changes or additions to the agenda. I talked to David this morning, and we are going to need an executive session. So that is one. Yeah, that's necessary. And that's to discuss two separate staffing issues. Christine?
Yeah, it's part of my report, but I
I can't hear you.
She's confused.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I can hear it on Zoom.
Maybe is our volume off on the?
I'm wondering if the,
Is it on the thing? Yeah, volume's off on the screen.
oh, that's
Something on Zoom.
That could be it.
Christine?
We're not
It
hearing
shouldn't
you guys
be.
very well either.
Where's the volume button?
I'm looking on here.
Text us.
Scott, you can some of you can hear me. Katie can hear me, Tina can hear me.
I think everybody, it's only that one that can't hear you.
Interesting. Sorry, this is probably an owl thing.
It might be an hour.
Let's see. Let's see. Sorry.
No, that was me.
Oh,
Just wanted to make sure we had some form of sound. We can't get the owl. No rush. No rush.
audio
We'll get this.
settings.
Should I hop into the meeting?
You can all hear us, right?
It should be working.
All right. You want to try speaking again, Christine?
Sure. Can you hear me now? Yeah.
Scott, do you want to talk just to see?
Yeah, sure. I was just going to say that if you can hear me, I'm not getting the mic from the room very well.
You do that.
I'm not getting Nicole talking.
So one thing we didn't test was sound.
Yeah, that's something.
Let me see if the sound.
You guys have you have mics at your table?
How about the sound on your computer doesn't have to be on, right? It will only be the owl.
Should only be the owl. But let me check that.
Hi. I just wanted to let you know that I have a request for paternity leave, and I have a potential a hire to bring to you for approval, which I don't think was on the agenda.
Yay, okay, so then I'm gonna get back now. Okay.
Yeah, that's why we're
So
gonna.
we have a paternity
I'm texting Chico.
Yeah, that's-
Request.
request.
Mhm.
Yay, and hiring.
Yes.
Okay, I put those under items for action, but if you bring them up, we'll just vote on them then, but.
Okay.
they're on here.
Sounds good.
Is that it from you?
Yeah, I'm going to hang up now.
Okay.
Okay, bye.
The sound cord is in the,
Oh, no, it's coming out of there.
Yeah.
I'm muted.
Yeah.
Where's that coming from, David's?
no, that's not me, is it? No.
Yeah, we got some crazy echo going on now. Okay, I guess.
It should be working.
Well,
But-
obviously the sound out is working. But not.
So let's see. Maybe it's something in Google
Right, I
Meets.
turned it up, but I didn't turn it. Does the sound come out of the owls?
More option. Yeah, it should be. That's the thing. I'm sorry.
No.
No,
we're all.
Plenty of time.
In settings, isn't it settings in the three dot thing? And right in that wall at the bottom there.
Audio default speakers. Haha.
Oh.
Try now. Someone could speak.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Sorry.
Thank you.
Excellent.
All right.
See, look, you learned something.
Persistence and failure. Okay,
Thank you.
yeah.
Were you guys all watching that?
Oh, we were all watching it, yeah.
Okay, I think we're done with changes to additions. So we do have an executive session and we have paternity leave and hiring. Okay, so approval approval of the minutes.
I will move to approve minutes.
Okay. I was looking for the date of the last meeting. Approval of the minutes for October 5th, 2021. So we have one, is there any discussion? I'll second. Oh, right, second, okay. So we have Beth moved it, and Sarah second. But I'm not seeing.
Scott has his hand up.
Oh, does Scott have, oh, sorry, Scott. Go for it.
No, Scott. You can hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, under page 2, the building update, I just was wondering if that could be a little more complete, or I can't remember actually what went on that night, but I was thinking, is it clear to the readers that that was a committee meeting? And who is the committee? That would be.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's essentially, it's Sarah, Stevie, and Nikki and I.
I think we should share who the committee is and.
I don't think there was there was a meeting on September 21st. Okay, so we should share who the building, and there were other people there, right? Jill Rubin was there for a short time. This is going so far back. And
I did bump into Jill and she said she still happened to be on them.
yeah, we just kind of done it. John Leonard was there, right? And
Yep.
Dave Ormiston was also there, and Jim.
And Joe.
Yes, so that's right. Jim, Joe, Sarah, Christine, Lindsay, me.
There's one other community member, Scott, who's interested in helping. He couldn't make it that day. His name is Jacob.
Holmes.
Yes, Holmes.
So does Wendy's got those names?
Thank you.
So I've got Nikki, Sarah, Jill Rubin, John Leonard, Dave. I didn't catch the last name. Jim
Ormison.
Taft, Joe Putnam. What was it, Dave? What?
Ormison.
Ormiston.
Ormiston.
The
And
town,
when was the meeting?
in the minutes. September 21st. It's in the minutes.
Just make those corrections with Lori. Yeah, that's good.
Got it.
And
Got
Lindsay was there as well.
I have the
Lindsay
list,
Brooks.
Wendy, if you need it. Thank you, Scott. That's a good addition. And do you know what, actually, I just realized in looking at the minutes, I didn't notice this before. So thank you, Scott. It indicates that we met on September 21st with Banwell, but we did not. Banwell was not at that meeting. That happened. Jim just had a conversation with them, correct?
No, I met with them,
You,
with
Christina.
Jim.
Okay.
Jim, Joe, and I met with the Banwell designer.
Yeah.
And we did a walkthrough, and we wanted him to see the building and give some ideas on what we potentially could do after looking at where the problem areas were. And he said he was not able to give us an estimate for a site plan because he would estimate on the whole entire design process and job. That's what they do. So Jim was going to look for alternative companies or organizations to work with.
Yeah, but that's good. But that would be an important correction to make. So I guess I would move, I have to make a motion. So I would move that we correct the minutes to reflect that the building committee did not meet with Banwell, but in fact, Christine, Jim, and Joe met. How's that sound, Wendy?
Great. Do you need to know the date that Christine met with and Joe and Jim met with Banwell, or just note it in general?
Quick meeting or something like that. Okay, so Sarah made that motion. Does Sarah second?
Second.
Okay. I'm gonna put Scott in for a second.
And I'd like to ask who Joe is. I'm spacing on that.
Joe Putnam, he's
Sorry about
he
that.
works in maintenance.
The new
Yep.
like how pretty much.
Yep.
He's the new Mike Hart.
Okay. Are there any other minutes changes? Not hearing it. Okay. We have to vote to make, we seconded
Yeah, you
We have to
technically
vote
should
to
call
make
the
that.
roll. Yeah.
correction. Do we have to vote to make the correction and then vote again on the
No, you
minutes?
would
or
just
do we just
say
as corrected?
as corrected.
Okay. Okay. So I'll take a roll call to vote on the minutes as corrected. So we'll start with Scott because you're in the spot.
Okay, I vote yes.
Okay. And Colleen?
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes. Okay. So that was unanimous. Okay. Okay. Do we have any public participation or announcements? I have an announcement. CDC recommended vaccines for 5 to 11. So hopefully we can start poking needles into our kids by Thursday.
Was it Pfizer? I thought I saw that go by sometime today.
Yeah,
Is it
Pfizer.
just for the one?
Yeah, yes, just Pfizer, and it's not final until the CDC director signs off on it, so. So we still have one
That's
more,
exciting.
It'll be tonight or tomorrow morning.
Yeah. But excited, on the road. Okay, that's it, that's my announcement. Principals report, Christine, you're up.
So do you want me to, you gonna share, Christina, or do you want me?
I think I can. I think the internet's stable enough.
Okay,
If not, I'll.
just throw it
Yep.
over to me. Yep.
Tab. I gotta find the right tab. Hold on. Good? Can you see it?
It's coming, yep.
All right, great.
Yeah, there, good, good,
Okay.
good.
Good. All right. So David, you'll have to be my eyes, or Nikki, somebody be my eyes if there are questions along the way. So we'll start with a couple of the fun things that happened this month. We had our walk to school day, and I think we had almost 100% participation. So it was a great success. We didn't get to do it last year, so it felt really good to do something, a past tradition. So we're going to try to do another, maybe one or two this year. Is my sound okay, David or Nikki?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, okay. We had our first grab and go community dinner of the year. We served over 250 meals that night. I saw some of you there, and I had some of the food myself. It was delicious as usual. So kudos to Craig and his team and the farm to school team, which helped prepare and serve that night. It was really fun, and the weather was good, so that made it even more fun. I didn't get the Halloween slide in, but we did have a fun, kids got to celebrate and do some pumpkin activities, and we did a parade on Friday on the half day to have a little more fun, which everybody needs right now. So I don't have a picture, but I can tell you it was fun. Hiring updates, we're still short-staffed. We did actually hire a support staff member this week. She started, but we lost one as well. So we're still down 4. We have one other potential hire. We're really being creative in our searches and working with the bus company, or any leads we get, we look into. So we are hopeful that we have another hire to bring next month for support staff. I was able to fill the half-time interventionist position that has been advertised. We kept it in the budget last year. We didn't hire because of COVID, but we did keep it in the budget this year. If you, for reference point, it was Teresa Semantics held this position and retired. So we have a person that we've actually worked with before. Her name is Eve Anderson. She's been an interventionist with us before. She's planning to move by the end of the year, so it kind of works out for her to be, she's still here and wasn't expecting to be, so she applied for the job. And so with the board's approval, we will have Eve come on board. And when you see some of the data in terms of academic scores, you know that we need interventionists to help get our kids back to where they need to be.
So is she in kindergarten? Is that the spot we're filling the?
No, I mean, Teresa worked in kindergarten, but we've looked at really where the, we're focusing on where the needs are the greatest.
Okay.
Because in kindergarten and first grade, we have a full-time right now. We have Jenny Knight. And so we're going to go by where the specific needs are the greatest. Likely 2-4, I think was where we're going to put Eve to start. All right. So do you want to take action later, Nikki?
Yeah, we'll do the
Okay.
both under action items.
Okay. All right. And that'll be a 0.4 position, just so you know, or 0.45, I believe. So we've been working diligently on Leader in Me implementation, the framework of Leader in Me, and we did last month administer the MRA to get a baseline of where we're at. And some of you probably took that survey. I'm going to click on share this tab instead. I'm going to share the results with you as soon as it opens. Can everybody see that?
We're getting there.
Kind of. It's loading. Good. So I'll just briefly go over, there's 3 categories: leadership, culture, and academics, and each category is broken down into subsets. So our overall leadership score was 67, but that score comes from an average of 3 major categories, one being family involvement, one being staff social emotional teaching readiness, and one is student leadership. And when you look at them, those 3 subcategories are broken down even further. So we went we worked with our coach, her name is Barbara, to assess, to look at the results and dig into them. Our lowest area in leadership was student leadership. So that's the area that we have focused on and set a goal. That'll be our target area, and we'll do some work around student leadership, which is part of our strategic plan as well. So it aligns, which is great. The second area was culture. Our overall score was 62 in culture, and again, broken down into 3 large areas. One was staff satisfaction, and that is made up of a couple of different subsets. One was student engagement. One was supportive environment, and the target area that was the lowest score was supportive school environment. So we're going to work on goals in that area. And the last category was academics with an overall score of 61. This score comes from 2 categories, one student-led achievement and one teacher efficacy. And the target area that we are going to work on is student-led achievement. So those are, we have a benchmark, which is great. And so we'll take the MRA again later in the year, probably in the spring, and see how we measured up against our goals. Are there any questions on that? Okay.
Great that you have that to lead direction.
Yeah, we're pretty excited about it.
And I do have a comment.
Yes.
Because I promised our teachers that I would bring up that we have a pom-pom shortage. And that might help with our
culture.
Our culture. So, like cheerleader pom-poms? Yeah, like we have a real cheerleading pom-pom shortage.
Yes.
There was a group that combed the school and only came up with 2 very sad.
No, I couldn't tell if you're like a metaphor.
No, we have a.
Sounds real.
We have a literal
pom-pom
crisis.
actual pom-pom crisis. Okay.
We do. She came to me too, Nikki, and we're going to get some pom-poms. So we.
I told her I would bring it to the 4th level.
That's great.
Like a good place to slide that in.
Yeah, certainly. All right, I'm going to. I don't know. I got to go to a different tab. So hold on a minute. Okay. All right, I'm back to my presentation, I hope. Yes? All right. Can you guys hear me? I hear a lot of clicking.
Yes.
Okay.
We hear you. We can hear you.
Okay, you can hear. You don't hear me, but you see me?
No, we hear you.
Oh, okay. Okay, sorry. I can't see you. It's really awkward. I can't see you, but I can hear you. So we have a exciting news that we're going to share tonight. So we're going to have a new member of our HES family, and we have a request from Mr. Chad Sturgeon. He and his wife are expecting a baby, their first one. They're pretty excited. Due March 1st, and he is hoping to take 6 weeks paternity leave, which he's entitled to, but he needs board approval on that. And, you know, we're gonna, as soon as the board approves, we will post the job to get a long-term sub for Chad with an anticipated start date of March 1st. But if the baby comes early, that will change. So we'll take action on that later as well, Nikki.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're excited for him.
Yeah, he's very excited.
When is he going to
Yeah.
tell the kids?
I think
Now, but
It's trickling out.
it's trickling out. I think after tonight, I'm gonna let the staff know in my Monday memo with his, you know, he asked me to do that, and then the kids will, I'm sure, find out soon after that.
Okay.
All right. It's not a secret. He just doesn't like to bring attention to himself. That's what he said. All right, Tina, are you ready? Let me click on Tina's. And okay. It should start to open.
Yeah, when I see it, I'll start. I just wanted to pop in and give you the update on some IDL things that are happening in the school with the teachers and the time that I'm with them. So you can go ahead and advance the slide. That slide is actually the journal page cover of one of the 5th grade nature journals. So they made those. The second slide is the kindergarten. We did the community study and mapping. So I just wanted to bring you the pictures of those. It was really quite a couple of weeks of fun. We walked up into town and viewed a lot of the different places. And then we have a very large piece of felt and felt pieces so that they can actually recreate maps. And then they created little maps of their own. And it really focused on key and knowing the places in your neighborhood. So you can go ahead and forward. First grade, we had a really successful author study of Kevin Henkes. As you can see, we have a flamingo and a hummingbird to show you today. And we're going to continue with those kind of author studies throughout the year with first grade. Go ahead. In second grade, we have just started doing our second rotation where we are making turkey marionettes. So today they actually spent some time putting the bodies together. Yesterday, they researched on Pebble Go. And so if you notice that all the turkeys are actually brown. And so they were really paying attention to the research that they were finding because they got to see videos and pictures. And so all the bodies are brown on the turkeys. They're not the yellow and orange cartoony figures that we're used to seeing kids put together. So I found that really interesting tonight when I was inserting the photograph. Go ahead and advance to third. Third grade, we finished up our brain-based learning and executive functioning lessons, and we read The Three Little Pigs and the Scientific Wolf. It's kind of a fractured fairy tale, and he uses simple machines to try to get into the little pigs' houses. So they had that problem to build a house either of straw, brick, or sticks. And then, so you can see a pulley in this picture. They tried to use a pulley system off of the limb of a tree to get the wolf into the brick house. So that was quite a fun one. We just finished that one up. Go ahead to fourth. We were continuing our electricity study. They designed Jiggle Bots using a coin battery and a motor that was offset. So you can see obviously that in October, it was more themed on Halloween. So we had quite a few little pumpkins jiggling around on the tables, which is quite fun. And then the teacher was focusing on procedural writing of what were the steps they used to build their Jiggle Bot. So that got some writing in there, which was great. And 5th grade, we were working in the outdoor classroom that I had last year. The 2 classes are going out at the same time and doing station work. So you can see a couple of pictures where we're actually digging up roots that were in our way. Then we did a mapping exercise using the drawing tool on Google Docs to create maps of their wood space. And then what's underlined there, and we don't have to visit it, but we challenged them to brainstorm how to learn in the outdoors, connecting to math, science, social studies, and different things, so that they were actually coming up with the projects that they wanted to do. So they wanted to make nature journals and to draw their names in sticks. So the first slide that you saw was a child's name in sticks, and then we actually used some recycled materials and made the journals. So it's kind of a neat thing that they're doing on those half days. So go ahead and advance the slide. 6th grade, we are continuing our compost study. Kat, I can't remember her last name, from Thetford Academy is coming to speak with them next week. And then we'll start the design process on that. Go ahead to 7th. So our little free library challenge is there. You can see that they're starting to take shape. The students are just finishing up and working on their presentations. So next month, instead of a slideshow, hopefully you'll have 2 members of 7th grade presenting your little free libraries, and hopefully we can choose one to put out front. Actually made of wood, not cardboard this time. Go ahead and advance the slide. The story walk, they're up and running almost all the way. The lower walk that goes down into the forest area has a book down there completely, and it has 3 posts left to fill. So if we have a longer book, we can get that down there. And the upper walk, which goes around the recess field, is we have 13 posts installed and a few more to get, but we're waiting on some pieces. So I would say 3/4 of the book is out there, but the minute we finished, there were kids racing outside to see what we were doing and running around. So it's really kind of neat to see that happening. Go ahead and advance that slide. We did Harvest of the Month, which was kale, and we talked about the German culture. So they made kale Caesar salad, which I am still smelling kale. So I think that's it. That was a whole week of that. So, but you can see that they get right into it and are learning from Craig Locarno, our kitchen person. So that's great. Go ahead and advance the slide. I just wanted to do a quick update. I took a course with Amy McMullen, Resilient Together, which is pushing libraries, school libraries and public libraries to collaborate and to do projects together. So our first project is to try to get staff and students connected with the public library site, so that we will be able to access their ebooks and digital books and audio books using Sora and Overdrive, which is sort of something that I'm just trying to figure out myself. But it's exciting to think of the possibilities there, opening up materials and resources for us. And I think that's it on that slideshow. So any questions?
Great job.
Yeah. Tina, you make this look seamless and easy. And I know you put a ton of work into it, but I just can't believe what you're doing. And it's just so exciting. And you make it look easy.
Well, I would say it's fun collaborating with the teachers and working on stuff that makes sense, and the kids are making those connections, which makes it more fun for me, because I like working and collaborating with the teachers. And the library is, I think, really becoming a hub for our school. I'm starting to feel that, so it makes it feel good. So anyway, I just wanted to share that, and I will be back next month with hopefully some library presentations for you.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, Tina.
Thanks for sharing.
Okay.
Thank you, Tina. I can't see you, but thank you so much. All right. Yeah, it's pretty exciting. We're pretty, it's really fun to watch the kids because they're really engaged in the work as well. So we know it's having an impact. Quick COVID update, and David's going to give you some more details about our plan moving forward. We did have one exposure again this month. It happened to be the same grade as the first exposure, which was not great, but it happened. We initially we quarantined both grades, but then and it was a late exposure in the evening. So we did some more digging the next day and were able to have one class come back because they were not technically exposed. So I did get to call some parents with some good news for a change, and that felt really good. We're no longer, I don't know if you're keeping up with the guidance, but we no longer have to contact trace outside exposures. So when grade levels are outside at recess together, we don't have to contact trace those kids while they're outside. And only the seatmate of a student on the bus would have to quarantine if there was exposure. But hopefully we won't be doing much more quarantining, and I'll let David share that good news during his report later. Upcoming events, we've got parent-teacher student conferences this week with a lot of student-led conferences, really moving in that direction. And Spirit Week is being planned by Student Council, which will happen November 15th through the 19th. So more information on that coming out in the newsletter. I'm gonna share. These are the fall TMP scores, and what I've done is I've created a presentation with the data, but soon we're going to be sharing data dashboards, which is a project that Brittany's been working on and keeping up, where we're going to have data at our fingertips, and it will be available to the public, to the board. We're not quite ready to release it yet. I think we have to do some more explaining around what the data means and how it's used, but we're getting there. So that's coming soon. But for tonight, I will just share the fall TMP data in this format. So let me present. Overall, I alluded earlier, the scores are not exactly where we would like to see them. We do recognize, we've been in a pandemic, and teaching and learning has looked very different for the last, for almost coming up on 2 years. So that has an impact, I think, especially at the younger levels, where kids were really not taught in the way that we would naturally teach them in small groups. And, with lots of stations and centers last year, we couldn't do that. I think that's some of what we're seeing in the data. But I will just go ahead and briefly kind of go through it with you. This is a representation of all grades for TMP math over time. And as you can, what we hope to see is more children in the green and the blue, but the trend is looking like we're seeing more children in the red and the yellow. So yellow is kind of getting there. Red is a big alarm. We need to really look at particular students that are scoring in the red and figure out how we're going to support those students with their academic needs. So that's school overall. It's broken down by grade level for you. And, you can certainly look at it and bring back questions if you'd like. I mean, big takeaways. When I sat down and looked at it with Brittany, overall our scores decreased with the level of proficiency in both ELA and math. Some grades did okay or held their own, but for the most part, we're seeing a decline. This is math, 3rd grade, 4th grade.
Related to students that we didn't have in-house last year too?
Some of it is, yeah. I mean, it's never going to be a true measure because you have move-ins, you have move-outs. Yeah, there are things that happen, and it's hard to tease those out specifically. But
do you have a sense of the? I mean, I guess that's what you're asking too, Nikki, the remote breakdown and in-person breakdown of the kids who are red and yellow?
Not yet.
We will.
It's something that we can look at. I'll make note. Sorry, I just want to write it down.
We also want to look at our summer academy kids too, right?
Yeah.
Exactly like that.
Yeah, that would be good. Yeah.
Yep. I
See
think
how they-
Brittany's on that as well.
She's working on that.
Yeah. So I think oh, my screen just got frozen. Sorry, it skipped ahead. I think, as I recall, it wasn't as dramatic an impact in the older grades, more so in the younger grades, but definitely an impact. Although not in this 8th grade, the current 8th grade. So kind of similar trends in ELA. This is the whole school data. And then broken down by grade level. So we've got some work to do. And another thing that we're looking at, or one of the things we're talking about as I'm scrolling through here, I'll get to 8th grade, is a plan for how to address the data with staff, because there's nothing worse than just collecting data and doing nothing with it. I mean, that's a waste of time for everyone. So we want to be able to develop a system, an effective and efficient system to look at the data on a global level and on a more specific grade level, and kind of process and protocols to do that. So Brittany's working with the interventionists, and they're meeting regularly. Lindsay goes to those meetings. I pop in when I can, and just looking at how to do that. What's the best way to go about that? When to do it, how to do it, and what specific data to look at. So that's all part of recovery. So questions on TMP data at this time? You can certainly look at it and come back with questions next month as well.
Christine, I have a question, if it's okay.
Sure.
Are those slides available to staff anywhere?
They will be, yes.
They will be.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I'm going to share. We've talked about the data dashboard. I'll probably just share this presentation, Tina, and the interventionists have access to it, and they're developing a plan to kind of looking at it, but it doesn't hurt to have it before that.
Yeah, I was just really quickly, as you were going through, just looking at the spring last year to the fall of this year. The summer slide was significant.
Yeah, it was big.
Huge, especially in ELA where we're wearing masks, and that's a really difficult thing when you're teaching literacy. That's just something I noticed.
Yeah, especially in the young, at all grade levels, but especially when you're doing phonics and it's really important to be able to see the mouth, how to form the letters and sounds. So yeah, there's definitely a big slide. So yeah, Tina, I can share that out after this meeting.
So I just want to clarify, you're tracking the same grade through all these different years. So
Yes, it's the same cohort.
The same cohort.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep. Same cohort. Okay.
Ooh, that was not uplifted.
Sorry, I'm inundating you with a lot tonight, and I apologize, but a lot's going on. So,
Handle it.
okay, so I think this is my last slide, and it's the preliminary budget. And if you're ready for it, I'm going to click on it, and we'll get started. Let's see, lots of.
It told us access denied.
It did. Okay, I will change that as well. Let me. Okay, so just as you all know, it's preliminary. Ed and I have met three times this month to go over staffing, benefits, and wages. Everything that we could possibly bring to the preliminary process, we did. But it's going to change. So. So budget goal, alignment of our Heartland budget with the strategic plan, continuous improvement plan, and the education quality standards. So As some of you were at the SU board meeting where the SU budget was presented, I think last week, and we're trying to tie all our goals to our strategic plan. So I've adapted specifically to Heartland some of the things that we're doing for student success and engagement. Some of them are similar or cross schools within the SU, and some are specific to Heartland, but the things that we are addressing, goal 1, which is student success and engagement, with our Leader in Me, our comprehensive assessment plan, looking at data in meaningful and effective ways. We're working really hard. We're continuing to work on the middle school model that is spearheaded by David, and Angie and I try to go to those meetings and support. One of our own middle level teachers has signed on to be a teacher leader on that committee. That's Mr. Butts, so that'll be great, having him kind of lead this charge as well. Working on co-teaching, interdisciplinary approach to teaching and learning, student-driven or self-directed learning, and universal design for learning implementation, which we've been working on. In goal 2, which is culture and student wellness, implementation of student advisory boards, student council, really getting student voice into the school in any area that we can. Our diversity and equity work, restorative approaches that we've continued to work on, our MTSS system, health and wellness teams, mental health services, and I kind of was specific in that realm in how the budget supports. We have 2 school counselors. We partially fund an HCRS clinician, or we should be, and we will be next year. I think Katie picked that up this year. We are HOPE, and then our Panorama Assessment, which is going to give us data around the social and emotional wellness of our students. Child nutrition at no cost to families, and a schedule that supports a positive culture and student wellness. And then last is our goal around communication and information. And so at Heartland, we're really trying to engage the community through, weekly updates, newsletters, our website, social media, a data dashboard that's coming soon, community events, and Leader in Me. So those are kind of the driving things specifically at Heartland. So if you were at the meeting, you saw this slide. This is Heartland's. This is a look at how much of our money in Heartland goes to our local budget and how much goes to the SU assessment. It's not a completely accurate look because we're looking at FY22 local and the FY23 assessment, but it's pretty close. Larry has assured me that it's pretty close. It won't change too much. So roughly 76% of local tax dollars go to the local budget, which I think is important for people to hear. So these are the major accounts in the budget, wages, and it looks larger, and there are a few reasons for that, and I'm going to break those down for you. The first one is that the music position that is 0.6 this year in this budget, in this preliminary budget, I've made into a full-time position. So that's part of the increase. There is we've done our best estimate of where negotiations are going to land. So we're not sure, but Ed has done his best guess, and he's incorporated that into this figure. And what is also in this line are our 2 Esser funded teachers. And I anticipate that they will be funded through Esser again next year and the following year, but they're placeholders in this budget, and they'll come out as soon as we know that is for certain, which should be before this budget is finalized. So before December, we should know how the Esser funds are being allocated and spent. Does that make sense? Any question on that? Okay. So benefits is next. Benefits are up by 5.25%. That's as of Friday when I last met with Ed, that was his up-to-date figure. So Benefits in general represents 12.81% of the whole budget, and there's an increase of about 93,000. Some of that is the 5.25 increase in the premium, and some of that is when you increase positions, like the music position, there's an increase in benefits. That's also true of the Esser funded teachers. So when they come out, this line will drop a little bit as well. Contracted services, this is remains pretty much the same, a little bit of a decline. You know, these are things that we contract out for, which we try to limit, but it does include our athletics. We pay a portion of our the athletic director's salary and refs and things like that. Maintenance and repair is up, and the reason that maintenance and repair is up significantly, it's roughly around $30,000. What I've put in here, and I'll be looking for your direction on this, is when I met with Ed, we added funding for winter activities for all students at Heartland Elementary School. So it's weird the way e-finance works, but the ski rentals go under maintenance and repair, and that's a $26,000 estimate, which is $100 a rental times the number of kids we have, which I'm sure we won't, expend all of that, but it's just a starting place. All right. Transportation is up a little bit. This means that we're gonna hope we get to go on some field trips next year. We've got our algebra bus in there, and these are Heartland specific because, as you know, transportation is now at the SU level. But this does include busing to and from winter activities for all students, which is roughly $8,500. So that's included in that increase as well. Communication, insurance, and postage up a little bit. High school tuition is up, I think it's around $68,000. This represents 30.35% of the total budget. And I've been working with Lori and Ed on high school tuition, looking at the numbers and kind of parsing out where kids think they're going to go so that Ed could run the figures based on what he knows the tuitions are. So that could change for the different schools that kids are going to go to. So we've got 38 eighth graders moving on to high school at this point. 5 plan to go to Hanover, 17 to Hartford, 1 to Leb, 4 to Sharon Academy, 6 to Windsor, 1 to Woodstock, 3 are homeschooled, and 1 is unsure at the moment. So when I talked to Lori about how many 12th graders will be leaving the system, she it's pretty interesting, and I have to speak to her more, but she said we had 55 12th graders, which sounded really high to me. So I went back and checked with her, and what's happened is we have some kids that are doing they didn't graduate during the pandemic, so they are still in school. Some of them are not going to school, so she's working on getting them off our books. I think when the first bill comes out, David, you can correct me if I'm wrong. We've got some that are out of district placements, some that transferred in from other schools, some that were retained, some that are in different placements outside of Windsor. So I'm going to work on really kind of teasing that out specifically, because the hope is when you graduate more students and you're sending, that there's a cost savings in high school tuition, but that is not the case at this point. Questions on that?
I mean, I gotta say, that's a huge number, but it's 30% of our budget. It's
Yeah.
30% of our kids. Right.
Yep.
That pretty much makes,
Is the number of 8th graders this year higher than last year? That sounded like a big number, 38.
No, I think it's
Okay.
about the same, Colleen. I think we had 36 last year.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Supplies are up a little bit, and I really, we've been trying to be very We budgeted pretty low for supplies last year. We didn't spend much in FY21 due to the pandemic when we went remote. So I did talk to Tina because we had cut some of what she had hoped for out of her budget last year, and we put some of that back in. And so we're, you know, at 92, which is a little bit of an increase at this point. And then energy, which costs are up a little bit. Equipment, I'm trying to remember why that one is up a little bit. Trying to find my notes, hold on. I'm not sure on that one. I'll have to look at why that line is up a little bit. And then dues and fees. So dues and fees is the other part of ski lessons. So the lessons get put into this account called dues and fees. And it's an increase of $20,056, which is ski lessons. The estimate is $75 per kid with roughly 260 kids. That's the increase in dues and fees, most of that. So overall, within the budget in the different accounts, this to fully fund ski program for all kids, it's roughly $50,000. And there's the assessment, which is up a little bit. And I've got some slides from Larry that just kind of shows how it's broken out in each of the 4 components of the assessment, which are early childhood program, which is up a little bit, administration and operations, special ed, and food services. We actually, there's a decrease for Heartland in the estimate.
Did we change how we're measuring that?
Yes.
And it,
We're doing that by ADM now, right.
yeah, I think I heard, that's the ADM estimate.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yep. And then this is just a breakdown of the total assessments which each district plays, the difference that each district is going to pay next year. And that's a function of our equalized pupil, I believe. Yep. And ours, it's funny, as you know, we have less students, but our equalized pupil number went up because it's a rolling estimate of 3 years. So next year that should come down a little bit. All right, so this is the total expenditures. It's up by the percentage is, I have it written down, it's a 6.1% increase. We don't have projected revenues yet, so it's a pretty big increase, and we'll have to work on that. But this is preliminary, and that is the end.
If you remove those 2 teachers, it probably brings it down.
Yeah. It would, yeah.
It's 100.5, yeah.
Yep.
Is the increase from when it's actual?
And we can also work on those tuitions.
Is the increase from FY21 to FY22 greater or less than the increase from FY22 to FY23 budget-wise? The percent increase.
Can you say that again, Colleen?
What's
increase?
the percent increase from FY21 budget to FY22 budget?
I think it came in, I want to say it was around under 5. Does that sound right, Nikki?
It was under 5%?
I think it was.
Yeah, I think it was. It was mine too. But this is comparing actual to budget.
Correct, that's actual.
Right.
That's why it looks funny, because we're remote.
No, I get that. It's just.
Yeah, we underspent. We had a surplus due to the shutdown. Yep. Okay. I will give you access to this. I'm sorry, I didn't realize that I didn't do that. And then I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
That was more than 8%, 8.3%. 21 actual.
Actual, right, but actual was bizarre because
Yeah,
we were
you
in the
can't, yeah.
building for
Plus, that was a weird.
3 months of it. Yeah, building. I see something.
Scott.
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to note for everybody who's listening that we have not voted on the SU budget yet, so we don't know. We have those estimates there, in particular the food program, and the idea of counting heads is still just an idea. It doesn't, it looks, the food program savings for the Heartland assessment is significant. But of course, that means that somebody else of the other two districts are making up that difference. So that's one thing that brings a lot of questions to my mind about what's the correct way to do it. The other thing is that we brand new to this year, the whole SU, including Heartland, has an equity policy that was adopted by the SU board in May. And it's very clear. It really demands an unequal allocation of resources. I'm really kind of hung up on this, honestly. I don't know how you can use a mechanism like, help me with that ADM acronym. What does that stand for?
Average daily.
Average daily, yeah.
Yeah, how do you, it's just amounts to too much close head counting in my mind to come up with a number, and then you're really, it easily translates into like money per student. And that's the way the whole board and the administration is looking at it and going forward. And to me, that's wrong-headed. And where the equalized pupil system as a way to estimate what's coming along is just it's just a little more oblique and works for me.
Scott, but the equalized pupil counts for 30% of our students that don't eat.
I get that. I think that's kind of a decision that Heartland voters have made by governing our district the way we do. And it's not really an easy, there's not really an easy answer to that one. But I think that the equalized pupil way of assessing or getting the assessment from the SU, is really the best way to do it. You can see the way our assessment is dropping is just really setting up Heartland voters to see it go this way next year.
That assessment went up. Yeah. So
He's talking about the ADM is not as stable as the equalized pupil.
Oh, right, yeah. Sure, but I think it's also, I feel like the school lunch program is a little more, it is a little more accountable in the sense of like, it is very, like, it's being run by the SU, every school is offering the same product. So it's very equitable in what is offered to our students. I would say, so it's not like students in Heartland are getting a different service than the students in Windsor or Weathersfield or whatever. They're all getting the same meal service.
But that would be equality, and we just want to serve anyone with whatever they need, and that would be equity.
Yes, but you also have to fit within the school meal program. So you can't all of a sudden be making a meal that's a $20 meal at one school and an $8 meal in the other school because, well, that's what they want. Because then it would be a major problem for actually being able to pay for the program.
I think one of the problems that I'm having with it is that the meal program is not just buying meat and potatoes. It's buying gas, it's buying stainless steel hardware, and it's a lot of wages and benefits. And I honestly don't know how the administrators are going to, what they're going to divvy up by ADM and what they're going to divvy up by equalized pupil is not clear.
Yeah, it's interesting because the truth is, I think, and Scott, this is a tough one. I think the boards are going to just have to decide on this. I mean, we did it the way we could do it both ways, and then at the SU meeting make it happen. But I hear what you're saying, and I hadn't really thought of that. But we wrap up in that food service budget things like Heartland needed new trays that were deep dish
Mhm.
trays. Nobody else got those. Heartland got those. So there are things that happen, that might be inequitable that, I think the real key to this is just, and I also completely understand the high school students were not serving, right? I mean, I get that part. I think it's really what's going to stabilize, because one of the reasons we went with equalized people with everything else is we didn't want spikes one way or spikes the other way. We wanted that sort of smooth, and again, equalized people is going to be changing. So, but I still think it's going to be a rolling average, and it's going to be capped, at that 3% or some percentage one way or the other. So you don't run the risk if you have a year where all of a sudden your attendance goes way up, or your membership goes way up, or another year where your membership drops way down in another district, because somebody else is going to have to, somebody else is going to have to pick up that difference. This is one that could really be argued both ways, and I think the board just has to ponder it and look at all of the pros and cons and then make a decision. I think it would be nice, though, at our November meeting, much like we did when we were going back and forth with equalized people on those other areas, would be to try to put it to bed once and for all. So that we know we're going to either use ADM or we're going to use equalized people, and that may have to be a vote of the board. We'll see how that goes. I like when it's consensus, but sometimes we don't always get consensus, right? I mean, we'll see.
I think that's your reference to 30%, that you'd be missing 30% or something. Well, because
High school.
like our high school population is going to be
Your tuition high school.
right, and of course they're paying for food at other places, and right. Well, and our tuition theoretically pays for that food, so we're like double paying for food if we go with people like food. Right. Well, it depends on the school. Right, it depends on the school, right, but yes, okay, that totally makes sense, right? This, I mean, most schools use subsidize their programs in some way. I mean, that would be, just don't want to be double paying.
Your microphones are not picking up real well, guys.
Sorry, I just said I just don't want to be double paying for school meals. Everything else makes sense to me for equalized people because it's serving our entire population. But unless we have high schoolers come grab food here, we're just not serving them. Okay. Moving on. We should. I'm all for that, and then I'm happy to go to equalized people if we feed them. Okay, I think we're on to the superintendent's report.
Okay, let me. I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to keep this really short, though. I'm not anywhere near as fancy as Christine. She's got a knack with. I'm learning from her actually already, but I don't have any great charts or data. Hold on. Let me get that going here. But there are a couple of things we should be aware of. Looking, I can even look up there and see if it's working. Okay, so the COVID update, Christine already touched on a lot of this, right? The good news is we're doing less quarantining than we're getting better in the quarantining department, and that may have something to do with vaccinations. It might also have something to do with the fact that I think we've stayed with strict protocols and we're being careful, and our teachers and our staff and our kids and our families are supporting that. So I hear other stories from other districts about a lot of classes quarantining and quarantining going on a weekly, if not daily basis, and I think we're in pretty good shape in that respect. But it takes a lot of work to get to that point. One thing we have to think about are the winter athletic protocols. We're working on that now, and part of that is high school related, but part of that is also our rec department and with 7th and 8th grade middle school programs, and also our elementary programs. As you know, the Heartland Rec Department depends on the Heartland Gymnasium to run those programs, but we've also done a very good job over the course of the year to say we are not allowing public into the building. So what I think we need to do, and Christine and Brian and I will meet to finalize this. I think we're pretty close. I think we do want to run programs, and I think we should run programs, keeping them more or less in some grade level pod configuration, keeping them distanced and safe and masked and all of those good things, but probably still not have public at the events at the middle school level. The high school, we're also thinking about, and not that you need to know that, but really limiting the public spectator. We would not have any visiting fans, and we would probably limit, maybe to 2 or 3, 4, tickets per ball player for indoors. A little different with cross-country skiing and those kinds of downhill events, but when you're inside, we just have to be careful. But I think we'll have the protocols, and we do have a COVID handbook for winter athletics that we'll publish, and we'll make all the ADs in the area aware of this. We've met at least 3 or 4 times with the rec departments, and it's including Jenna and John, and they've been very cooperative. I mean, they'd love to see something for the kids, and that's the nature of their program. And I don't know if the board has strong feelings about this, but if we could provide something for the kids, I think we'd like to do that. Does anybody have any thoughts just in general on that? Yeah. And Christine, you and I talked to Brian today, because you're the 2 schools that will have to, because you're the Windsor Rec Department runs their program at the Windsor Rec. So they're not in the schools. I mean, it's still, we've got to be careful, and we try to keep in touch with them around protocols, but your buildings have to be accessible for athletics, both you and Brian. So we'll talk about that. Test to stay, you've heard a lot about that in my weekly updates. This was a very time-consuming. Like Lori Brown again in my office, and the nurses in all of the buildings have put a ton of time into this. We had to get a federal approval from the CIC in order to become a lab site to do this antigen rapid testing. So the paperwork, poor Lori had to sit there and give her social security card, her a credit check, just crazy stuff to make this happen. So, it was almost like an FBI. Yeah, you had to pass. I told her you could be an FBI agent now, Lori, if you wanted to, because you passed all these federal clearances. But again, you are going to be a lab environment. The CIC is connected to all of those lab tests somehow, so that's the way it'll work. But it looks like it's going to start. I think I put some dates, tentative dates of maybe next week, trying to kick this off. It's really going to be up to when the nurses are ready and the database is populated, because what we want to do is this will only be for unvaccinated children, and it'll only be in cases of close contact. So hopefully it'll help keep a lot of kids in school that right now can't stay in school, and appreciate the work that's gone into it. Vaccines, we already talked about this, vaccines for kids. We're just waiting for that final approval. We've been working really hard. I think I put some dates in my last email around some pediatric clinics for vaccines right here at Heartland. There are 2 dates for first dose and second dose. Those are for people who really just need the convenience of a proximate site, and or they don't want to see their child get a needle stuck in their arm. I don't know what, but we'll figure that out. Christine will work with the volunteers and the nurses to set up a schedule. Again, this is kind of complicated because the parents go on and register, give approval, and then that populates a database that will come directly to a net for Heartland, and then a net will know what kids are going to be vaccinated here. Any parent can register any child at any public testing site if that's how they want to do it. And there'll be public testing sites all across the state, and I think they're building up capacity to make that happen, because I think we want to get children vaccinated as quickly as we can, and that's going to help keep them in school as well. Given the complexity of the vaccines for kids and test to stay. We put the surveillance testing on hold, and quite frankly, if we continue to make progress with vaccines, then the surveillance testing almost becomes insignificant. So I'm glad we never really got that off the ground, because it allowed us to put time and effort into both of these programs. Are there any questions on any of the COVID stuff?
So, I'm gonna throw this out there. While we're jabbing kids with needles, any chance we can put some flu vaccine in them too?
Well, that's a good question. We hadn't talked.
I know
we hadn't talked
I know
about
we
that.
talked about,
Yeah.
but we couldn't pull off the flu vaccine.
I think we had flu clinics here one time.
Last year,
Yeah, last year we did them, and it
Yeah.
was brilliant.
Yeah.
'Cause
Yeah,
I'm
it worked
struggling.
pretty well, huh?
Far less screening.
Yeah, and far less screaming and,
How did that work, Christine? Did it work last year?
It worked really well. We did it with through Mount Escutney, and we tried this year, and they just didn't have capacity to do it. So
No. You know, we can ask VDH. I mean, my understanding is that you can get both vaccines at the same time if you want. I really don't. And the nurses are really nervous about, sort of
Yeah.
giving shots to these kids. And it's kind of like, they want to build relationships with the kids, and yet they're going to be swabbing noses
Right.
for,
Yeah.
for the TTS and sending the shots. But I mean, it's a good thought, and maybe we could do that at a different time and see how that works. But flu vaccines are now out for adults, and I've already got mine, but I would encourage people. The flu's not going to go away.
Yeah.
So we'll look at that.
Yeah, I think that's something we should keep on our radar, because,
Yeah.
like, I'm struggling to find flu vaccine. I
For-
feel more confident on finding a COVID vaccine.
Yeah, for the kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just easier.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm just looking at the pharmacies right now. Yeah, like, honestly, I'm doing kids.
She's called around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, PCPs are dry,
Yeah, exactly.
and an appointment.
Exactly.
It's easier to drive to the Scotty and get home.
Yeah, exactly. Just quickly, we've done some good anti-racism work. That continues. Lots of people who are here tonight are on this task force, and that task force has met regularly. We're now working in small groups as a task force to come up with some action steps to implement our anti-racism policy. And then there's a group of us who are also working with Dr. Lavelle Brown, who's a superintendent in Ithaca, New York, and he is part of a consortium of leaders, and he's really good at what he does. And so the work we're doing with him is around cultivating love, liberation, and belonging in every single school. And if you want to hear Lavelle Brown and you're a board member, then you could come on Thursday. I think Thursday he's the keynote at the Vermont School Boards Association meeting. It's all virtual. So if you want to do that, is anybody here registered for that Vermont School Boards Association?
Yeah,
Nikki, you did?
yeah. Are they gonna record that? Or,
It's a good question. I can
I
ask
wasn't
that.
counting on it being that.
Yeah, and exactly. And sometimes it's up to the presenter whether they'll allow it to be recorded. But
Yeah.
I can ask that question.
Yeah,
And if it's
you-
possible,
yeah,
we'll do it.
Yeah,
Yeah. And I'll tell you, we've gotten those of us who have been part. I mean, we had that wonderful summer with Melissa Crum. She did a wonderful job. And now Dr. Brown is also, he's just so powerful in the work he does. He's been doing it in his, as a superintendent, for the last 15 years. And he's transformed that whole district into just a much more caring and loving environment. It's really amazing to see that work. The budget overview, you saw, Christine, the local budgets are in the early stages. And the SU budget, I'm hoping one more meeting with the SU budget committee. Colleen is your very loyal participant on that budget committee. And I'll tell you, she's very faithful. Matter of fact, the last couple of times, she's been the first one on. So that's been pretty good. But I think we hope to have an approved.
Good for me.
What's that? Yeah.
I said it's good for me.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Our next SU board meeting is on November 22nd, and so I hope that we can do that. I think that all the SU folks who put that budget together, including Katie Hearn, who's on tonight, This was the smallest increase in special education. I think she's really creative around placements and how she structures her programs and how she hires out staff and contracting certain things that we hadn't contracted in the past. Transportation work that she's done is amazing. And, we've been running an $800,000 to $1 million increase each year. And now she's got Katie has about just a little over a $400,000 increase for next year. So that's really helped hold that SU budget in that 2 to 4% range for all of our districts, including one district whose assessments are going to go down. So
Maybe that was noticed.
yeah,
I noticed that, and it is like, it wasn't an appropriate time to cheer, but I was actually on the board of cheering. So thank you, Katie. It looked really good.
I think that might be it. No, the Esser forums, and Angie and Brittany are working hard on the Esser forums. Heartland already had theirs, but there are 2 more virtual forums, one on November 8th at 6:30 p.m. It's technically Mount Scottney, but anybody can go to any of these forums. And then on November 9th, we'll host one at 6 p.m. For Weathersfield. And they've got a whole process that they do. I think, there's a lot of sharing about what the Esser monies are intended to do. And it's just another way to get the community together. And sadly, we're not getting big turnouts. It doesn't surprise me. People are just busy, crazy this time of year, and crazy busy, not busy crazy, but so they got so I mean, we hope people show up, but we've also done surveys and so there's been a lot of work to get input, but we really do have to finalize this ESSA 3 expenditure budget like very soon. I'd like to get that on, if we could do it on November 22nd. It's not that the SU board has to approve it, but just that everybody knows this is what we're doing, because as you heard Christine say, that impacts the local budgets, because if we can keep those positions in, and Christine's not the only one, Heartland has 2 or 3 professional teachers that are in the ESSA budget. So if we can make that happen, then we need to make that happen.
I do think we need to communicate it differently somehow about these
Yeah,
funds,
I
because 3 people showed up to the Heartland.
Yeah.
2 of them being Nikki and I.
Yeah.
And so,
Thank you, buddy.
yeah, so it was really, I mean, they did a great job.
Yeah.
But it's like that, I just have a feeling like it's gonna come out and we're gonna say we're spending this money. And for some reason, I'm just waiting for this like viral list on the listserv to go crazy about everything.
About how we
I know people
Picture it
really
happening.
don't understand what it is.
No.
And when they hear, and even the word recovery, I think they think, oh, that's for, kids who are really, really struggling. That's it. If that doesn't apply to the rest of us or something. That's my sense of the lack of understanding around.
Yeah. We're also, there's a lot of research today around, and you probably see this in some of the organizations you might be affiliated with, where, texting is the new email, that essentially, if you got a text message a half hour before that forum that said, we're just not there yet, Larry is working on ways to build that capacity just to let people know. Because I'll tell you, I hear these dates, even in our own community, and you say, oh yeah, good, and I'll write that down, and it just doesn't happen. I think that people just get busy, and they just, so you're right. I think Beth's right. Ways to communicate it. We'll probably send out one last survey before the 22nd. People were good about responding to those. So we'll see. I also think sometimes the lack of attendance, I don't want to be too presumptive here, but, people just, I think they trust their school boards. They trust people that are working with these monies, and I hope those listservs don't light up once we announce it, but we'll see.
One thing that was brought to my attention today at a different meeting was around another school was talking about ESSER funds that they're using, and they're using a chunk of their ESSER funds to go to universal meals and to help make that jump for the first year, because they said it's all like because they had a drastic reduced, free and reduced rate because of people not putting in their slips.
Of course.
And so they are saying that's definitely COVID related. And so it was a really interesting thought of like, oh, well, could we do that to bridge the gap basically? So then once we get more into it, we would be able to get more of our free and reduced.
No, I agree. And I will tell you this, that there are several supervisory unions in districts around the state that got a heck of a lot more money than we did. I mean, part of it was based on poverty factors and two of our communities, you know, for several reasons. I mean, our poverty numbers are going down some. It's not a bad thing. It's just the way it is. And it's either some of it's to do with the way we calculate it, but also some of it is a changing demographic, I think, in this, in the valley here. You're just seeing some of that happen. But yeah, I mean, I know Springfield got millions and millions, and I know that, you know, my way, some of those community towns got tens of millions. So it's just a lot of money out there. And then last but not least, negotiations. Scott is your representative on the negotiations team. Teacher mediation will occur again in December. We did hear back from the mediator. He looked at the two sides and how close they were, and he thinks it's worth one more session to try to bring it together. So we're going to do that in December. The ESP support staff negotiations will start soon. And by soon, I think, you know, sometime probably before Thanksgiving, but certainly if not before Thanksgiving, right after. And again, not to be too presumptive, but I think that the support staff will, I'm thinking that should go pretty well. I'm hoping so. I don't know, Scott, if you wanted to add anything to that, but it's just been a tedious process, and teachers are working without a contract. I think that adds to some of the stress and some of the climate issues. So the board really wants to settle this, but they want to settle it in a real fair and equitable way.
No, you got it. Thank you for the opportunity. You've illustrated that.
I think that's it for me.
For the support staff, are we gonna try and get a training?
Yes, we did. We added that. Yes, we added that. That is in there.
Yeah, I just wanted to echo what Beth said about, she made a great point a few minutes ago about universal meals with Esser funds. And I don't know about the applicability of that, but in regards to what I was talking about a few minutes ago, I would definitely agree that arguing about how to split up the assessment between three districts, to split up the food program assessment is small potatoes compared to working together to get it to get the program turned into a universal food program. That is really the goal. So I agree with Beth bringing that up. And I wanted to, David, if you could do one thing, I want to give you a project. This occurred to me in the last few minutes. There's an assumption made looking at Portland with with K through 8, Weathersfield with K through 8, and Manascutney District with K through 12, that there's a lot more meals being served in Manascutney District. But it would be great to know the truth of that. Because for one thing, high school students don't necessarily spend every day in the building or all day in the building. And so it would be great to know where the meals were being served. It would illustrate with that.
We've got that data.
Wouldn't that be the fairest way to count? Just number of meals, average number of meals a day? That's, yeah, but you can't predict that.
It fluctuates.
Because it fluctuates a lot, yeah.
I can find those numbers though, Scott. We can get that.
Thank you.
It might just be another little piece of information for the 22nd.
Yeah, exactly. Just another, exactly.
And then there's policies in place at the high school that I think, you know, if you went with universal meals and, you know, closing the campus and not allowing kids to go out off for lunch and things like that, like your participation rates would increase. But yeah, and then it's also much more equitable. Oh, once you got the freedom, yeah, absolutely.
Before they drive, maybe, but once they can drive, yeah.
We'll let Beth announce that.
Sure. Okay, so
Oh,
I
that's
think we're
good.
moving on.
Hail for everyone.
Okay, so items for discussion is the initial budget review, which I think we have covered.
Yes.
So we have some items for action. First, we have a paternity leave request with a tentative start date of March 1st for Chad Sturgeon. Does anybody want to move?
I so move.
Okay, moved by Beth, second.
Second,
Second by Colleen. Okay. And I'm just gonna say again that we're really excited for Chad.
Congrats to him.
Yeah.
And I wish we could give him more than 6 weeks.
I know. Exactly. Okay, all those in favor? No, we have to roll call vote.
Yeah.
Beth, we're starting with you.
Aye.
Okay, Sarah,
Aye.
Scott,
Aye.
Colleen,
aye.
Nikki, aye. Okay. All in favor? I hope Chad enjoys his time.
Yeah, it'll be great. Yeah. He seemed pretty happy today. Yeah, you can see he's got a little bounce in his step. That's good.
And so we have to hire a part-time interventionist, Eve Anderson, for a .45 position. Do I have a motion there?
I'll move. We hire Eve.
Sarah? Second?
Second.
Beth? Okay. And here we go. Scott, you're first.
Could,
Oh, sorry.
Nikki, could you please restate what you said?
Yeah, it's a part-time interventionist, Eve Anderson, for a .45 position.
Aye.
Kelly?
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah, aye. Nikki, aye. Okay, that was also 5-0. Okay. So, setting the next agenda. We're gonna do, budget.
Budget would be, and budget, yeah, that's gonna probably be a pretty lengthy discussion, so.
Yes, that is gonna be the bulk, the big one. Yes, for sure.
What else needs to be?
Can I make a suggestion, Nikki?
Yes, please.
I asked, I thought it might be helpful for Sean Perry of We Are Hope to just come and do a quick presentation to the board, since student mental health is really at the top of our list right now, and he has agreed if the board would like that. It'll be quick. I told him 5-10 minutes.
Yes.
Okay.
Is it gonna come live in person or virtual? Did you talk?
He will come live if we would like him to. Yeah.
And I'll put in a plug. He's doing a managing stress for parents thing.
Good.
What is it? Yeah. Hold on. Let me put a plug in. Calendar. I want to get the title right. Creating space. No, it's actually creating space for myself. Community mental health workshop. So I have signed up. He's doing it from November 8th from 6:30 to 8. And his idea was to help the adults before the holidays. So.
Did everybody see the CNN story?
Yes.
Did everybody see that? Yeah. Okay, good.
Yes.
Yes.
That was great.
It was really awesome. Okay, so we have Sean Perry and We Are Hope, budget. I think that's, we're gonna have a COVID update and a vaccine update.
Yeah, all that good stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then we'll have
We might have some good vaccine numbers, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I don't really need anything else.
No,
The
I-
budget's gonna be enough.
Yeah. We need to have that motion to go into executive
Yes.
session, right?
Yep.
And I don't think that's gonna take long. And Christine, I know you're at a conference, you don't need to stay, so.
Lindsay, can we see?
Lindsay, look at Lindsay.
Please. Oh.
I apologize. That was why my screen was off, but you say hi.
Hello.
Say hi.
Oh my God. Beautiful.
She's just chilling.
Which has been the both, but that's great.
Yeah, exactly. You are a busy woman, Lindsay.
Yeah, it's part of the job.
Okay, so we have 2 items to discuss in executive session. The first is
Yeah.
yeah, but we need to.
Well, you can say what, yeah.
So the first is a staffing position, and the second is also related to staffing. So 2 staffing discussions we had in executive session.
Do we need Christine for either one of those, or can we do it without Christine?
I think the second one was Christine.
Okay,
The first one was Christine.
all right, so maybe we can
They
just,
said that they were on there. No. Okay, so I'll take a motion to move into executive session.
and maybe we'll go into Lindsay's office, is that?
I second. Yeah, okay. And does Lindsay need to be here? I mean, she put her baby on.
No, she doesn't.
Yeah,
No,
Lindsay,
Lindsay.
you're all set. Okay, yeah.
Bless
Lindsay,
you.
you're all set. Christine, we want
Thank
you.
you.
Please, yeah, David, please feel free to use my office. That's fine.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Lindsay. Thank you, Lindsay. Okay, all those in favor of moving, I need a motion first.
Yeah.
Okay,
Beth,
I'll
Beth
second.
moved,
Beth, second
Sarah
by Sarah.
seconded.
Okay, Scott? Yes to move into executive session?
Yes.
Okay, Colleen?
Aye.
Aye, Vicky. Okay, we're gonna
All
move
right.
into executive session.
So everybody stay on, we're gonna shut the owl